Well, two of the firefighters on the front line that day, Matt Sefton and Julian Spooner, join us now. And welcome to both of you. Thank you so much for being here today. So I wanted to ask you, Matt, first of all, let me start off with you, because you were one of the first officers in first attendance on the day. So you arrived at the fire at 1:15, and even with all the experience you've had, you've never seen a fire on the scale of this one.
Oh, no, never seen anything as big as that. I've been to some big fires and I've been to some tower block high-rise fires, but obviously that day was, unprecedented and just a massive incident. And when you turned up, it was quite shocking and, surprising, but through the training we've had, it just all goes into place and we just do what we've got to do.
How does your training equip you to cope with something like that? When you look at it, what are you thinking? Are you thinking, how do we tackle this?
Well, I think on the way to the job and when you're actually there, you just know we're all a small cog in a big machine. So you know your job and you just do that bit and everybody else does exactly the same. But
and is it for all of the firefighters that were there throughout that terrible time, is it head down, get the job done, think about it later? Yeah,
I think so. It's just, you've got to go in there, put the fire out, assist anybody who needs our help. We've just got to go and get them. And, we just get on with it and we deal with what we see at the time.
And Julian, for you, you arrived at about 7:30 in the morning.
Yes, about 7:30.
That's when you started. And the conditions that you faced then, because obviously the building was very much still on fire at that point. Physically, how did you cope with the conditions that faced you?
It was an incredibly challenging day. I've never faced anything like that, and I've been in London Fire Brigade for a number of years now. And that day, by the time I finished at about 10 o'clock that night, I was pretty exhausted, emotionally and also physically. Yes.
And because you've got children,
yes,
you've got family. For any of us watching those scenes unfolding on screen was horrific. To know that your husband, your fiancé, was in that building at the time must have been terrible. I mean, that first phone call to your wife to say that you were alive.
Well, luckily I left my phone in the car when I first got there, so I wasn't able to make any calls until quite later on in the day. But yes, it was good to be able to phone and touch base and say I'm okay, and that would be the same with all the firefighters that were there that day.
I suppose in recent times it's very unusual for your loved ones to watch something unfold on television and know that you were there. So because the crews were there, the news crews were there as fast as you guys almost, they are sitting at home knowing that you're working on this.
Yeah, certainly. So the Red Watch that picked up the actual fire, that was at what, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, wasn't it, Matt? So obviously when everybody's waking up at 7 o'clock and getting ready for their day's work, going to school, etc. To know that your loved ones potentially are dealing with an incident like that, I think must be horrendously worrying for them.
There's no downtime for you guys or anyone in the services. Is the fact that you go in there, you tackle that blaze, deal with that however you deal with that in your head, and then the next day you're off and you're putting something else out.
Yeah, it can be like that, but that night we finished in the morning. We went to a fire station. We met the counselling and welfare team and they asked us how we felt. We wrote down what we needed to do. They've come back later and phoned us and checked that we're okay, but then it was just go back to work with your watch and my watch at Hammersmith. We all talked about it, our feelings, what we'd done, and that helps you, that you can explain what you've done to your colleagues and your friends.
And do you still talk about it amongst each other?
Yeah, because whenever it comes on TV, it's a trigger and you do end up talking about it.
Yeah.
You see the colleagues from other fire stations and you talk to them about that.
Of course.
But yeah, it's the biggest job in London since the Second World War, so it's hard not to talk about it.
Of course.
We were sitting very close to you guys and the firefighters who were on the table at Pride of Britain Awards, and when the footage was shown, almost everybody was still really very emotional. There were tears in eyes.
That's right, yes, and it was lovely to see the Grenfell survivors group there as well, being recognised for the job that they've done. post the incident. And yes, it is still raw, actually, for many of us, and certainly will be, I'm sure, for years to come. I think certainly in London Fire Brigade over the last year or so, we've had a number of challenging incidents, and we have a very well-established counselling and wellbeing department. But I think more importantly, we're now beginning to realise that actually we need to check on each other from time to time as well. It's very important. And on the actual day of the incident, I remember the commissioner actually sitting down with firefighters afterwards and you know, making sure they had water and talking to them afterwards and providing that sort of level of reassurance, which was outstanding.
And the support from the community was enormous.
Oh, amazing. I think I went back there for some days afterwards, and to see the community come together and the way they dealt with the aftermath and looked after people there, I thought was remarkable.